The explanation they found is that the pillar was primarily made of wrought iron, which had a high phosphorus content and lacked sulfur and magnesium, unlike modern iron. Additionally, ancient craftsmen used a technique called forged welding. That means they heated and hammered the iron, keeping the high phosphorus contact intact. A method that was uncommon in modern practices. So here we find two things. They used materials that are not used in modern construction, and they used techniques that are uncommon in modern construction. Now let's show the next one. Are we up there? Now we recognize these. Here we find the Twin Towers in New York City, which were completed in 1973. The construction process of these towers were unique in many different ways. Many firsts were made during the process of the construction of these towers. However, the one thing that caught my attention the most was that before these towers were built, it was a custom for skyscrapers to support themselves through large internal pillars spaced about 30 feet apart from each other, which as a result, it messed up the aesthetic of the building, removing a lot of open floor space, but it provided more support. For this project, however, the engineers came up with a different solution. The exterior walls themselves would support the bulk of the sculpture, and they would get a boost from one single column of pillars in the corner. This allowed for much more of an open plan on every floor of the building, which was more aesthetically pleasing. It looked nicer, and they were able to make more money because it gave them room to put in more offices in the building. So they took the risk because it was going to look better and it was going to be better for their pocket. But as a result, so the next. They say that the impact of the two planes put the pillars under elevated states of stress. Let me read that again. They say that the impact of the two planes put the pillars under elevated states of stress. Yet the iron pillar, which was built in the 5th century, it was hit by a cannonball in the 18th century. Yet even with that amount of force, it stood tall without even a dent. And the question we have to ask is why? I'll tell you why. Because one stuck to the old material and an old process in the construction of the pillar, which led to it still standing without rust or corrosion after 1,600 years. And the other one, it tried a new process, risking everything to simply make their building more attractive, a place where people wanted to be and wanted to be there to admire, and most importantly, a place where they could make more money that would eventually lead to the pillars in that building unable to handle the stress and the pressure of one plane. All right. They say that if